Hello, I haven't posted anything for ages because I've been so bogged down in work with marking and lecture prep and paperwork for next year and all sorts. And having spent another morning doing even more of it, I thought I'd have a break for myself and record some poetry. Not my own poetry. This is from a book called A Pageant of Modern Verse, which this particular one, and you can see it's quite an old sort of a book. This is from the late 50s. I can't remember for the life of me when I got hold of this, some years ago anyway. And once upon a time it was owned by the library of the Lancastrian County Secondary Girls' School in Chichester. Look, they've still got the old library ticket inside it. And it has that wonderful old book smell. There ought to be a special word for old book smell. It's a special word for the smell of rain, which it is at the moment raining. So there ought to be a special word for book smell. There probably is, I just don't know what it is. So I'm going to read you 3 poems from this. You'll be relieved to know they are relatively short poems, certainly much shorter than the Oscar Wilde poetry I was recording a month or 2 back. So the first one is by William Butler Yeats, and it's called The Stolen Child. Where dips the rocky highland of Sleuth Wood in the lake, there lies a leafy island where flapping herons wake. The drowsy water rats there we've hid our fairy vats, full of berries and of the reddest stolen cherries. Come away, O human child, to the waters and the wild, with a fairy hand in hand, for the world's more full of weeping than you can understand. Where the wave of moonlight glosses the dim grey sands with light, far off by furthest Rosses we foot it all the night. Weaving olden dances, mingling hands and mingling glances, till the moon has taken flight, to and fro we leap, and chase the frothy bubbles while the world is full of troubles, and is anxious in its sleep. Come away, O human child, to the waters and the wild, with a fairy hand in hand, for the world's more full of weeping than you can understand. Where the wandering water gushes from the hills above Glencar, in pools amongst the rushes that scarce could bathe a star, we seek for slumbering trout, and, whispering in their ears, give them unquiet dreams, leaning softly out from ferns that drop their tears o'er the young streams. Come away, O human child, to the waters and the wild, with a fairy hand in hand, for the world's more full of weeping than you can understand. Away with us he's going, the solemn-eyed. He'll hear no more the lowing of the calves on the warm hillside, or the kettle on the hob sing peace into his breast, or see the brown mice bob round and round the oatmeal chest. For he comes, the human child, to the waters and the wild, with a fairy hand in hand, for a world more full of weeping than he can understand. Which I think is rather lovely. Obviously meant to be sung, but I spared you the horror of listening to me attempting to sing. It sounds rather like a cat falling down a mine shaft at the best of times. A little bit more of William Butler Yeats. This one is called The Song of the Wandering Aengus. And Aengus, for those unfamiliar with Irish mythology, was Aengus MacOg, the god of love and romance, who often took the shape of a swan when flying about the world, inspiring, a bit like a Eros, or Cupid in Greek and Roman myth, inspiring romance and love in the hearts of the people he came across. So, the Song of Wandering Aengus. I went out to the Hazel Wood, because a fire was in my head, and cut and peeled a hazel wand, and hooked a berry to a thread. And when white moths were on the wing, and moth-like stars were flickering out, I dropped the berry in a stream, and caught a little silver trout. When I had laid it on the floor, I went to blow the fire aflame, but something rustled on the floor, and someone called me by my name. It had become a glimmering girl with apple blossom in her hair, who called me by my name and ran and faded through the brightening air. Though I am old with wandering through hollow lands and hilly lands, I will find out where she has gone, and kiss her lips and take her hands, and walk among long dappled grass, and pluck till time and times are done, the silver apples of the moon, the golden apples of the sun. It draws on a lot of old imagery from Irish poetry, much older Irish poetry than this one, particularly the apples of the moon and the apples of the sun. It's also very reminiscent of the story of Finn McCall when he was a young man, a teenager really, rather than a man, who was set to cook a salmon rather than a trout from the sacred stream. But that's another story entirely. And the last one I'll share with you before I go and get back on with the marking is by John Masefield, and it's called The West Wind, which, for those of you who know Greek myth or have endured the various postings I put up on this blog over the years, Zephyrus, the West Wind, amongst other things, falls in love with a young Greek prince, and there is a sort of a spat between him and Apollo as to who will win the hand of Hyacinthus, the beautiful young man. And eventually, of course, Apollo, golden and radiant and light and blinding and brilliant, wins, and the gentle west wind is overlooked by the young prince. It ends up as a tale of bitterness and resentment, and he murders the young man who won't have him. But anyway, that's not the topic of this poem, but the west wind is. So, the west wind. It's a warm wind, the west wind, full of birds' cries. I never hear the west wind, but tears are in my eyes. For it comes from the west lands, the old brown hills, and April's in the west wind, and daffodils. It's a fine land, the west land, for hearts as tired as mine. Apple orchards blossom there, and the air's like wine. There is cool green grass there where men may lie at rest, and the thrushes are in song there, fluting from the nest. Will ye not come home, brother? Ye have been long away. It's April and blossom time, and white is it the May. And bright is the sun, brother, and warm is the rain. Will ye not come home, brother, home to us again? The young corn is green, brother, where the rabbits run. It's blue sky and white clouds and warm rain and sun. It's song to a man's soul, brother, fire to a man's brain, to hear the wild bees and see the merry spring again. Larks are singing in the west, brother, above the green wheat. So will you not come home, brother, and rest your tired feet? I've a balm for bruised hearts, brother, sleep for aching eyes, says the warm wind, the west wind, full of birds' cries. It's the white road westward, is the road I must tread, to the green grass, the cool grass, and the rest for heart and head, to the violets and the warm hearts, and the thrush's song, in the fine land, the westland, the land where I belong. Which of course can be a reference to Ireland itself, the west, the land to the west, or maybe Wales if you prefer the land to the west. But also the land to the west, as the Egyptians knew and so many other cultures knew, where the sun goes down in the west is the land of the dead. So is this perhaps a yearning to return to the land of the dead, to the land beyond where there is rest and peace and harmony? But thank you for listening, and I will endeavour to record a story later after I've waded through this next batch of marking, and assuming my brain hasn't just turned to mush by then entirely. Thank you.